Okay, we are live. So hey everybody, I'm Tim Tobias. To most of you, Tim Lavin, and I got my moderator here, James the Icon, who is going to be moderating for us tonight. So I thank y'all for taking time out. Let me see, I can move it over. Taking the time out of your evening to join us to talk about a really important issue, and that issue is crystal meth use, and that it has become a crisis in the ballroom community. For the past few years, 3 years, Ballroom We Care decided that we were going to tackle that issue. And we've done so by having different events, these type of panel events, and also through education. We have trainings that we just started facilitating just last month. So now we're here tonight to talk about the issue, and not only talk about it, but come up with some solution. You know what I mean? I think we talk a lot, right? But then you don't always see enough doing it. So I think we want to kind of like take it beyond just a discussion and figure out what we can do as a community to help ourselves. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to James, who is our moderator, who's going to introduce and talk a little bit about our wonderful panelists that we got. And we got some people that's here. So y'all give them a warm welcome because they are actually sharing their stories, you know? Right. They're sharing their stories that, you know, for some people can be a little intense, you know, so kind of like support them and all that type of stuff. And all right, James, take it away. Give me a second.
Icon and the late great icon himself, Hector Extravaganza, in response to the crystal meth epidemic that is going on in and around Ballroom. And today, BWC provides support, education, awareness, and identifies culturally competent resources to members of the Ballroom community who are struggling with crystal meth use and crystal meth related mental health issues. And that's a very, very, very important topic. And so we have a fine group of people tonight, our panelists, who will be joining us and talking about this epidemic and also sharing their stories. So the first one that we have tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Aurora 007 Morgan, who is a 23-year-old unapologetic trans woman of color from New York City, whose mission is to bring about change and awareness to the issues that impact Ballroom and the LGBT people of color. Aurora does this through education and breaking stigma in the community. Although Aurora is not affiliated with the house, she has been connected to the Kiki scene for 7 years. She has managed to persevere through so many life struggles, such as being in the New York City foster care being sexually trafficked, overcoming trauma, mental illness, and crystal meth use. She is also hell-bent on maximizing her personal growth, strength, and power. She also focuses on learning through life lessons of overcoming immense struggles, hardships, and traumas. It is important that she learns to effectively and efficiently and productively harness and apply those energies in healing, maintaining, and thriving. And welcome, Aurora. I love that about you. You know, that is amazing. You know, the things that you did, and it's a great honor to have you here tonight to talk about this issue. Welcome.
Appreciate it.
It's so pretty.
Thank you.
I love you already. Okay, so our next one we bring to you tonight will be Terrell Villa. Terrell, did I say your last name correctly?
Yep.
Okay, and Terrell
What's
is
up, everybody?
okay. Terrell is a 27-year-old Scorpio from Bronx, New York. In his spare time, he enjoys cooking, baking, and writing poetry. He is a social media fanatic. A great deal he enjoys watching YouTube, Netflix, and Hulu. Terrell started in Ballroom, joining the House of Cavalli, where he wore Bush Creek Realness. You know that's going to go to Aja's house. Bush Creek Realness. His first encounter with crystal meth was around the summer of 2015. 6 years later, he realized how much better he felt without it. And now he is approaching his 2-month clean and feeling amazing. Today, Terrell wishes the world nothing but good things and hopes that everyone remains safe during this time of pain and fear. And he says to my community, let's reunite with unity, love, and teamwork. Say this out loud to yourself. I choose to be kind to myself and love myself unconditionally. And I'm going to say that again. Terrell says to say out loud, say this out loud to yourself. I choose to be kind to myself and love myself unconditionally. Welcome, Terrell. That's what's up. I like that. You want right? I could do that too. I'm down. Our next panelist I'd like to bring to you and welcome is Flash Garcon. Flash, welcome. Okay, you see me, Flash? Okay. Flash Garcon Ballroom is where he discovered himself as a fashion model. Ballroom birthed his dreams. Flash will always grace the floor as a competitor, be an advocate and a supporter. His struggles with meth has been finding a place to get away from it. He has not found a place because he was meant to create it from his own experiences. All right. 3 good things he would like for us to know is that he's always remained spiritual, a little goofy, and properly equipped with the tools needed to help the community heal. To help heal the community of this battle. And welcome, Flash. Bigo, right? Flash, are you there? Hello, Flash. No, maybe. Okay, we're gonna get back to Flash. Our next panelist is Christian Emmanuel Tito Sanchez Salmo. Did I say your last name right, Salmo?
Yeah, I go by Tito though.
Okay, Tito. What's up, Tito? How you doing?
I'm
Tito
good.
is a 27-year-old gay-identified young man of Puerto Rican and Dominican descent. He is also an active member of the thriving youth-focused NYC ballroom scene known as the Kiki scene. And in the Kiki scene, Tito serves as a mentor of the New York City House of Christian Dior. Tito openly talks about his experience with crystal meth use, and he is lucky to say that he has been clean for over 5 years. Give Tito a round of applause, people. Today, Tito has had a major concern about the lack of services in New York City that has not tailored to the needs of Black and Latino young gay men. He hopes that sharing his story will help shed some light on another young person in Ballroom who is battling with crystal meth. I commend you, Tito. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you for being here. Hi. And then our next panelist, the lyrical MC himself, Bugs. What's good, Bugs? Bugs was born and raised in Newport News, Virginia. Bugs grew up with love, but due to a dysfunctional home and a mother addicted to crack and an absent father who stayed in jail, Bugs felt alone and turned to the streets at an early age. After doing juvie life, Bugs was introduced to the ballroom scene where he became a Mizrahi and then went on to become Mother VA for the iconic House of Revlon for 14 years and becoming the first drag performance legend. All right. Upon moving to NYC for a great start and becoming a 007, he once again started looking for somewhere to belong, and music was it. But somehow the devil crept back in, and some of us, as we call crystal meth. After dealing with this for a few years, Bugs was able to shake it with the help of a new love in his life, but the story never ends there.
My connection is
and the story continues. Welcome, Bugs. What's good?
What's good?
And I bring to you our next panelist is none other than the Kiki scene icon himself, Simba McQueen. Hey, Simba. He is formerly known as Simba McQueen, the pioneer and two-time Kiki Hall of Famer in NYC. I am McQueen. On July 11, 2004, Simba got started in the Kiki scene while participating in services at HMI. Simba also holds the record for becoming the first youth commentator in the scene. Although he has some great accomplishments in the scene, Simba was introduced to substance use while escorting at the age of 21 by an affluent older white gentleman. His biggest challenge while engaging in the drug use is the inability to make positive life decisions. In the midst of his addiction, Simba will want the community to know that you are only as sick as your secrets, and it hasn't happened to you yet. YET, meaning you are eligible too. Okay, Simba, you've been very good with words, and you are a pioneer of that scene. I talk about you all the time, and people, I was there. And next we have none other than the handsome, beautiful Jason Zhu. Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Zhu Garson.
Garson, yeah, I was getting there. I was getting there. Okay, excuse me, Jason Zhu Garson is a Black queer community health advocate and advocate. With personal experiences as his foundation, he uses his platform to address and bring awareness to issues affecting other queer people of color, like HIV and AIDS, sexual health, substance use, sex work, and mental health. Jason has created initiatives like Take Down Tina and collaborated with community health institutions such as Prep Squad DC on projects like Undetectable Man to spread the message of U equals U, which is undetectable equals untransmittable in communities of color. Jason began his journey within the house and ballroom community as a member of the House of Princess. Oh, you were lovely. Shortly after leaving the house, he joined the Kai Balenciaga new venture, the House of Epic, winning his first major ball for Butch Queen Face at the Latex Ball in 2010 as Adonis Epic. Okay, Adonis Epic. Wait a minute. I gotta get my other notes. I done lost my other notes, y'all. Hold on. I done lost the other page.
Such a long bio.
I lost the other page, Jason. Hold on. I'm sorry. After a 7-year hiatus, Jason has made his return to the ballroom scene as a member of the legendary International House of Como de Garçon, DG Pro, which takes a multidisciplinary approach to serving disenfranchised LGBTQ communities in order to ensure the personal well-being, safety, care, and emotional and mental support can be achieved. Jason has made a commitment to building a better community. Jason has embraced his role as a U equal U ambassador and the fight to combat all forms of stigma. For more information about Jason, you can go to www.presquaddc.org/uman. And welcome, panelists. And I thank you for all being here. This is really great. And so, how's everybody feeling? Good? We ready? All right. So we just gonna jump right into it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm all about it. What is Simba saying? I can't hear Simba. But we're gonna jump right into it. So, first question. Do we all agree that crystal meth use is becoming a huge concern in the Kiki scene and mainstream ballroom scene? And that's open to anyone that wants to answer that.
I think hands down, absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, folks. Hey, y'all, fellow panelists. Absolutely. I think, for me, it's been a huge problem in the last 10 years of my addiction where I've used and I've been on and off. And, in my process of using, the people that I've come across, principles over personality. So during this session, I won't be saying any names, but if you get my gist, just like the people we've lost has been such a thing, right? And I'm part of this text group with the fellow, like the beginners of the Kiki scene, and we have this group, and we're constantly talking about like the people who are younger than us that have passed, right? That me being 33 years old, that I could be at this place. And, in ballroom, the year is very different for me, right? Like I'm a 50-year-old in ballroom. And just like the short terms of people's lives that it gives us. Right? All the things that we lose when we are in our addiction. But yeah, absolutely. I think it is a problem.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I think it's a very big problem. Like, I know for me, I wasn't active in ballroom, but through the couple years that I did it, I ran into a bunch of people who was active in ballroom, and it surprised me because I didn't really know too much about the drug, so I was surprised that so many other people in ballroom was doing that, and I was just like, oh wow, it was new to me, so I was just like, oh shit, so this is the new thing, I guess. Yeah, so it's definitely a problem, and it's getting worse.
Definitely. Anybody else like to chime in about it? Their thoughts, their feelings? Yeah, it's an underground drug that has been around for quite a long time, you know, and it's really starting now in the past, I guess, 10 years, really impacting the Latin and Black, Latin and African American community, and probably even longer than that, you know what I mean? But like where we could see it on the forefront, you know, with friends and family and stuff like that in the past 10 years. But yeah, it's always been kind of like a shh, and it's like a secret community, right? But we're going to get to it and we're going to handle that. Secret, right? Secret. Okay, so another question. We all experience things differently. Can each one of you please share with us how you got introduced to crystal meth? And let's start with Terrell. Really?
I want to say in about maybe around 2015, I had a best friend that had initially introduced me to it, and it's kind of just how it took off from there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You guys hear me?
Well, for me, I think I was really invested into this boy, like really, really invested to him. And I was young and he was older. And there was just happened to be this glass thing on the little countertop. And I asked what it is, and that was been my worst thing ever. And he introduced me to what it was. He was like, it's just like smoking weed, and boom.
It took off from there.
Yeah, it did.
I feel you. Bugs?
I had just moved to New York, and I was going through a lot because I was losing a lot of people. I had lost my best friend, gay mother, then my grandchild, and then my other child. They all was like passing within 7 months. And I remember I was online once, and this guy asked me if I party. And like, I'm not from New York, I'm from Virginia. So when he said party, I was thinking he was talking about weed and coke. So I went over there, and when I got there, it was a brownstone in Harlem, and I remember coming there, and the house was really, really nice. So I was just looking around like, oh, okay, this is a cute little vibe. You know what I'm saying? I was depressed and sad and shit, and I just wanted to let my hair down. He took me upstairs. We get upstairs. It was like about 8 guys there, and they was just like all on the bed, and they asked me, how do I do it? So I'm like, well, I sniff it. I don't smoke it because I'm like, I'm not smoking no coke because I'm still thinking it's coke. And then when they was like, you sniff it, that don't burn your nose. I'm like, no. And then when he pulled it out and I looked at it, I was like, well, what is this? And they was like, this is tea. And I was like, what's tea? And he was like, crystal meth. And I was like, how it make you feel? Oh, it ain't no difference from coke. It ain't no difference. It's like coke, but it make you feel like you on an e-pill. And so I did it, and I wasn't high. I didn't think I was like, okay, well, this doesn't work. This ain't doing nothing, so I can continue doing it with y'all today. So for like that hour, I was just like going and going and going, not realizing that a couple I was, goddamn it, getting high as hell. Didn't even know I was getting high, and I was there at that guy's house for about a week, and from there it went.
It just grew.
Yeah.
Aurora?
Hey, I would say my initial situation with T, basically I got drugged and got raped initially. Like with that, I really don't want to get into that. But my first smoking experience with T, I was with somebody, like 3 people that was in ballroom. Of course, I'm gonna respect the name
Right,
and
of course.
situation.
Of
So,
course.
basically, I needed to take a break from my apartment building in East New York when I was living in East New York, and basically I hanged around with the wrong girls, and they introduced me to tea smoking, and they were just like, "Oh, it's gonna get you up for your clients," because we was all in the Imperial, and started smoking, and like I could relate to bugs because I really didn't know like as a smoking. But it was gonna get. But when I started smoking, a week went past into 2 weeks, and I just really didn't realize how far I went. I wasn't eating or nothing. I was seeing those black shadows, and from there I kind of like took a break. But then when I moved to Washington Heights, I kind of like fell into a little wrong type of situation, hanging around with the wrong people, and started smoking heavy. But I'm in a space where I'm not really, you know,
I got you.
sparking that shit no more.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I hear you. Thank you. The lovely Jason Garcon.
For myself, I was introduced to crystal meth through a couple that I would hook up with. We would hook up after the club, and I would see them do it, but I was just like, "Oh, okay, go ahead and do that. That's fine." And then, eventually, consistently like hooking up with them, I was just like, "Well, what is this? What are you guys doing? Because you seem like really amped up and like really enjoying yourself or whatever." And so I tried it, and from there, I wouldn't say I was hooked, but I was more so, I was consistently like using it here and there sporadically and stuff like that, to one point where it actually got to my life where it became a huge problem, and I had to separate myself and take care of myself and do some self-care. So yeah, it was this crystal meth, man. I hate this drug.
Oh, thank you. Simba, would you like to share? One moment.
Introduced to it through sex work. I mean, it's in my
Right.
bio. I got introduced to it through sex work. I had this one client. I was 21 years old that was living in Chelsea. I happened to be walking the club Escolita and was like, "Let me make a little coin so I could drink." And I had been speaking to this person for some time, and I went to their house and they were doing it. And I wasn't really heavy into drugs at that time. But he had hired this other person who was another young person who I was really attracted to. And I remember leaving and he was like, "If you say, I'll give you like some more money." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And that was on a Thursday evening, and I ended up leaving there Sunday morning. But that's how I got introduced to it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, guys, for sharing. And I'll tell y'all, even one time, it had to be like 2001. I got arrested for something. No, I got arrested. I was doing what I wasn't supposed to be doing, and I got arrested. And this guy was in prison talking about it. And the way he made it sound, I wanted it. I was like, "Oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. I want to try that." And he's like, "Nah, I'm telling you, young brother, you don't want to try that. You don't want to try that." But I wanted it for the wrong reasons because of the stories he was telling me about how it affected him sexually is why I wanted it. And it made me feel like I wanted it. And I never got it, but there's reasons why, because God steps in and shows out, right? So Simba, I got a question for you. Why do you think people use meth? And is it a strong sense of euphoria?
That's a great question. I mean, I can only answer on my experience. I think
Yes.
that, for me and the experience that I've had, it's been a real big sexual thing for me. I have this uninhibited thing about sex with me that I don't practice or acknowledge when I'm sober. And so when I'm using, it takes me to that place where I can be uninhibited. I don't give two shits about what anybody thinks. I become, if you will, this big whore. And I'm into a lot of kinky things. And the only way I'm able to release that is when I'm using. Is it strongly euphoric? Absolutely. You know, my last run, it took me to a place where, well, the second to my last one, it took me to a place where I had slit my wrist. I got 7 stitches on my arm. In the middle, in the late morning, like 11 a.m., I found myself running up the Bruckner on a hot summer day to jump off of it. So the euphoria is very real. You know, I've been in psych like 7 times. And you know, it's a strong part of my story, and I share it because, you know, you talked about that guy in jail, and a lot of times, like even for me sometimes, I find myself talking about it where we glorify it. And what I fail to realize is the influence that it has when I talk about it, such as you shared when this guy talked about it, how it made you want to use it, and then he brought you back from that, right? Saying that, you know, maybe it's not a good thing for you. And, you know, I've seen people who have completely lost their mind. The building that I live in now, there's this one guy, and he was sitting in the bathroom, and he was just like having this conversation about being like this serial killer. And it was really scary, you know, when you're sober and you see that side. You know, and I had a few friends who have gone to this place of euphoria, and some of them haven't returned from it. So, you know, like I had a great time using it, and I had an even worse time using it. And like I like to tell people, my best day using has nothing on my worst day sober.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Tito, I got a question for you. Why do you think meth is always associated with sex?
Well, for me, because I honestly can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I just felt like there's this rush that just makes you want to do whatever you can or whatever you feel like your normal self can't do. Like, for instance, I would not walk in nobody's park sober, no shade, but get me on that, I'm in that park 2, 3 in the morning, but I'm really scared of the dark. So it's like it makes your courage or whatever like update itself. So I feel like when it's brought into sex, it's just a whole nother ball game, something that you can't compete when it's regular sex. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this was fun 5 minutes, but when it's lasting for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, it's a whole different like strategic thing in your head. So I feel like anytime anybody does that drug, the first thing that somebody's gonna tell them is it's gonna make you sexual, which sometimes it don't, but it does. Let's all be honest. Like so I feel like that's why it's affiliated with sex more.
Got you. Yeah, that was why I wanted it. I'm gonna tell you the truth, for real. Like when I heard it, that was why. Jason, do you mind talking to us a little bit about your campaign? Why it's important for you to start a campaign?
Yes, so I started the initiative Take Down Tina, which is to spread awareness of crystal meth use within queer and trans communities of color. And I really thought that it was super important to, one, share my story as someone who has gone through the journey of crystal meth, but also shed a light on other people's stories and their journeys, and honestly just start a conversation around crystal meth use for us, because a lot of times we don't want to talk about it, and with meth there is a lot of trauma with it, and so to unpack that and really deal with that, it's kind of difficult. So I want to create a space so we can actually have those conversations.
Great, and it's much needed. It's much needed. Thank you for it, because we need it. Thank you. Terrell, can I ask, what has life been like for you since the pandemic of COVID and everything, dealing with everything? Terrell? You want me to repeat it?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so when I guess COVID and all that good stuff first came to New York, it was kind of something that just wasn't it wasn't a big deal to me at first because like Ebola, the Zika virus, all those things, they were stuff that just after a while just kind of just disappeared. Like it was gone. So with COVID, it was just like, okay, whatever, this is going to be something that just goes away and we'll be good after that. And then once I started watching the news and I saw all the death rates, and then de Blasio was shutting the city down and then gave us the curfew, I'm like, okay, so this is like a real thing. Like this is something that I should, and as well as everybody else, take a little bit more serious. Kind of mentally it's done something to me because it's scary now that like it's a different way of life that's like not the norm, and it's like never gonna go back to the way it used to. So.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to go back a little bit. 1 second, Jason. Can you share more with us about the different chemicals in meth, as well as fentanyl, and how it affects the mind and the body?
Yes. So crystal meth is a man-made stimulant, but I really don't want to bore us with like what is actually in it. What I can say is that there are a lot of chemicals within crystal meth that really cause harm, and some of those things are daily items that you would never put into your body. But we look at things like fentanyl. Fentanyl to me is like you can compare it to a horse tranquilizer. It's a narcotic that really taking in the smallest doses can cause an overdose and lead to death. They are now starting to cut a lot of the crystal meth with fentanyl, and so that's why we are experiencing the death rates go up now. We're really trying to increase harm reduction so people can really start testing their drugs, also get safe needles and everything like that, because we got to meet people where they're at, to be honest.
Right, definitely.
And we can't just keep telling people get sober. We need to really come up with great harm reduction tools to do that.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. So in previous discussions, we talked a lot about the stigma, shame, and judgment associated with crystal meth use. Can you guys talk a little bit about the crystal meth related stigma in Ballroom and how it impacts someone's usage and ability to seek help? And again, we understand you only can speak from your experiences, so when we ask these questions, it's a direction that you can give us on your journeys. So that's for anybody that would like to answer that question. You want me to repeat it? Let me repeat it.
James, I think Bugs is trying to speak. Let me unmute.
Oh, okay.
Bugs,
repeat the question real quick though, because I kind of
yeah. So I was saying, talk a little bit about crystal meth related stigma in Ballroom and how it affects someone's usage and ability to seek help. It's a lot of noise.
The stigma of crystal meth in Ballroom, I mean, it's really no different than the stigma of HIV in Ballroom. It's like everybody has something negative to say. If somebody says this person does crystal meth, everybody is like, oh, he's nasty, or he's this, or she's a freak, or they this, or they that. And when you have all of that going on and being said, and you're doing this drug and you're around these people who make jokes about it and who say this and who say that, I mean, it's not helpful at all. Only thing you do is when you leave from them, it puts you in a space where you go right back to doing what you're doing even more, because it's like, I can be wanting help, but I can't get it, because if I say I need the help, then people are going to judge me and laugh at me for wanting and needing the help. And that's why for me, it was very important for me to talk about my issues with crystal meth, because when I first, nobody knew about what I was doing when I was doing it. So when I first came out and said that I was doing it was a Facebook post, and I did that because I felt like I knew that it was so many people in my community who was doing it, and I felt like me being a leader, it was important for me to share my story and say that, okay, I'm doing this. and this is where I'm at now, and you can do the same thing. And from me sharing my story, I've had a lot of people from Ballroom hit me up like, I'm glad you said that because I'm going through the same thing. So it's like the stigma is definitely there, and it needs to be tore down, just like the HIV stigma.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Yes,
but,
this right here. This is how we do it. This is where we start. We talk.
And you know, like I wanna commend you, Tim, for doing this, because this is very, very important. And like you said, James, that this is where we do it, but this is where it starts.
Right.
But if we are trying to really help Ballroom, it's going to take Ballroom. And when I say Ballroom, I mean active leaders and legends who have a voice and who people like. Right now, this panel should be in every house group. Every leader and legend and mother and father who knew that, everybody should know this is going on. If they know when a fight go on, they know when somebody got chopped going on. So this was promoted everywhere. You're the moderator, so I'm pretty sure the other icons, legends seen it. This should be everywhere. That is like, this is important. What we're doing right now, it has to be spread out, and I just don't feel like.
And let me tell you something, and I say this to people all the time. You don't got to be a legend or an icon or a leader to talk about it. You a person in Ballroom, everybody, it can start from the smallest to the biggest, if you want to call them the rock, the knot, to the star, the statement, the legend, whomever. Anybody can start this conversation. You will see people really jump on in it because it's serious, because we all have been touched by it in some sort of way. I lost a child a couple of weeks ago because of effects of it. You understand what I'm saying? I lose friends and everything. I got, people that I know. So we're not going to leave it just at the legends. They should be doing their job, and I agree with you, and they should be doing it. It should be posted, but we're going to post it, and more people going to jump on, and we're going to have more conversations surrounding many topics, many topics. Did anybody else want to chime in on that question, talk a little bit about crystal meth related stigma in Ballroom? Go ahead, Doug. Yes.
I just want to chime in off of what you just said, because I do agree with what you said, but when you say any and everybody can, the knots and this and that, you are 100%. We all can, they all can, but it doesn't get received, and it doesn't go to everybody the same way it goes to the people who are considered the girls, the people.
You know what?
And it's no downplaying it. It's no nothing. It starts with them. Because everything starts with them. The foundation.
The foundation.
Yeah, that's the foundation.
And I agree with you on that. But I'm going to use the Kiki scene as an example of how those children created something so big. You understand? And it's big today. Shit, it's kind of overshadowing the mainstream scene. But really, if you want to do it, you will do it. And the people that want to be down with it will get down with it. You understand? We all can chip in, and we all got to chip in. And I love that. Thank you, Bug. Really, word. Anybody else want to chime in with that? Is that me making that noise? Do y'all hear that noise? Is that me? What's going on? Can you hear it now? It's done? It's stopped? It's me? Okay. All right, I'm going to go on to the next question. I don't like that. It's terrible. It's terrible. Aurora, how has crystal meth impacted the trans community? Can you speak a little bit about that? Aurora, are you still here, beautiful?
James, I think she left. I don't see her.
You don't see her?
I think she left.
Okay, we're gonna get back to that.
But there's a question that came through the chat. I want
from Donald. You want me to read that?
I know we're gonna do that later, but this
Donald
came through here.
The one from Donald. You want me to read that?
Yeah.
Simba, if you're comfortable, could you talk about the challenges of there, if there were any, to getting support you needed with your popularity, presence in Ballroom, as well as in the service providing community?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, and Donald Powell. Thank you for your question. Um, Challenges to getting the support you needed with your popularity, presence, and Ballroom, as well as sort of challenges. Wow, where do I begin? I think for basically all of my life, I've always been at this place where people who can you see me? There we go. I've always been put at this place, whether it was in high school, or after school programs or Ballroom, where people kind of put me on this pedestal. And I remember I would do little things that I wasn't supposed to. Like I remember I did this April Fool's prank with one of my best friends in after school, and we had pretended we were fighting while groups were going on, and every single classroom came out with all the teachers, and they really made it a big deal. And I got suspended. I've never been suspended in my whole entire life. And
Wow.
Here I am in the after school program after I graduate school, and I get suspended because I had this fake fight. And what I recall from that, and I'm getting to a point here, was that all the staff that worked there individually had all pulled me to the side and told me how disappointed they were in me, right? Because now this pedestal that they put me on, I had to live up to this image. And the same thing happened with me in Ballroom. I started commentating out of grief. I had this one friend who I grew up with in the village who commentated, and he got murdered in the village. And after that, I would mimic him. And that's really how the commentating thing started for me. It's not something that I really wanted to do. It's not something that I really wanted to do, but he got murdered. I would mimic him on the piers. And then that just carried with me. People would always be like, hey, can you commentate? So the challenges that I had was that now I became the face of a community. And so imagine me, right? And when I started doing crystal meth, it wasn't really popular amongst like marginalized communities. It wasn't popular with low income, poor people of color and LGBT. It was like this rich white man drug, and it was a secret thing if you were a person of color. And so every now and then I would go meet a date, and there would be somebody else there that was Ballroom. And I kid you not, I'm thinking of like 6-7 different instances right now. Every single time I walked into the room and there was somebody that was Ballroom, it made them super uncomfortable, but I was okay. Mm-hmm. And it ended up leading me into a scandal where I was getting gangbanged by like three guys, and I was smoking a pipe, and this video got leaked, and it really ruined my reputation. And all the people who had looked up to me, they was roasting me on Facebook for like hours. And I was dating somebody at the time who's not my ex-husband. We were together for 4 years. So the challenges was really about, this image that I had, the work that I've done. Yet there's this catch-22, right? And I'm not going to hold nobody. Like, was I a big hypocrite? Absolutely, right? But nobody was ever in my shoes. So the challenges were very difficult. I dealt with a lot of grief. I dealt with a lot of shame. I grew up, I'm adopted. I've been through the foster care system. So I deal with abandonment issues. It's not something that I hold heavy on my shoulders now. But at that time is what I dealt with. And so that sex thing that came in was really about me finding acceptance, regardless of how they received me at Ballroom. Because I would go to balls and commentate, and everybody will always come up to me before the ball started. But after the ball was done, I found myself in a crowded room alone, right? After that video got leaked, the people who were closest to me would not talk to me. And so I began to isolate. And in that isolation, the crystal meth has its own scene, right? Like there's a party scene, and everybody knows everybody. Right. It's a big old scandal. And I became part of that scene. And so I isolated myself. And then I got to a place where I had really hard euphoria, and I would go to these places and have these psychoses. That it's just these things that you can't think of. You can't make this shit up in this process. And I dealt with that. And in that process, I had nobody to help me because nobody wanted to open their door to me. I had lost like a tremendous amount of weight. I already had been open about being HIV positive, and I wasn't going to see my doctor. I wasn't connected to care. So I was a big old mess. I was like this dude that was carrying STDs, that had HIV, that was passing shit on to people, quote unquote, and things of that sort. So when you have that stigma to you, when that's what people believe, and you know that wasn't the case per se, but when you have people believing that, all the doors are shut on you. So where am I going to go to get help? And who am I going to be comfortable with opening up to say, yo, this is what's going on and I really need your help? You know, what I learned is that the people that are in your circle are not in your corner, and the people that are in your corner are not in your circle. And that's been a really big thing for me. But
say that again.
The people that are in your circle are not in your corner, and the people that are in your corner are not in your circle. And
God
that's
damn
just
it.
that's just what it is, right? Like when I was going to the club doing coke, the only people I wanted to travel with was the people that I knew was going to be in the bathroom with me backing it up. Whenever I wanted to get high, those are the only people I reached out to. You know, like we use everybody for a certain reason. Like I decide like the people I take to my house is not the people I go to the club with. The people I go to the club with is not the people I have sex with, so forth and so on. And I think we all can relate to that. But you know, as I said in my bio, you know, you're eligible too, like that yet thing, right? And it's not saying that is going to happen to you, but you're no exception. Right. And the other part to that is you're as sick as your secrets. And you know what I've learned? You know, although I'm very rebellious. And the one thing for me was that you cannot have something up on me. So before you expose me, I'm going to expose myself. So I don't got to deal with all that shit that comes with it. Right. And the other thing I learned is that I can't make my shit other people's shit, and I definitely don't make other people's shit my shit, right? And the person I've become is, you know, even when I was using, I get to this place where I'm like, if somebody's going through something, my first question is, how can I support you? And the reason I become that person is because that's not what I've had. And, you know, luckily for me, over the years, I've built and I've come across people outside of Ballroom who have really loved me unconditionally. And, you know, because of that, you know, I still have my slip-ups, but I've been the most clean I have in 10 years. And it's been such a blessing.
Amen.
Right? The connection that I have to the rooms, the 12-step program has really changed my life. And this is not me to promote or endorse or take away from any, like, whatever works for you. You know, whatever works for you works for you. My thing is.
No, but that was the question. They wanted to know the resources that they can go out to.
And I think lastly for me, like, you're as sick as your secrets. You know, find somebody you can really talk to. Find somebody you could trust. And it's not going to be easy. It's a simple process, but it's for complicated people. You know what I mean? And so, I hope that answers your question, Donald.
Yes, amen. Hey, Peter, I love you, big brother. Good, thank you so much. Can Flash hear us? Is Flash on, Mike? Is Flash with us? I see he's in the chat.
Yeah, he's in the chat. I think he's having connectivity issues.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on to my next question. If anybody, this is open to anybody, how did crystal meth, if you know, reach the Black, brown, and trans communities, if you know? Kind of a broad question. It's kind of a broad question.
In my research of how crystal meth kind of got into our community was primarily from our counterpart, white gay men, through acts of sex work. They would hire us to come and they would have meth available. And in order to get the job, a lot of times you have to get high to get it done. And then from there, it moved from those sex workers into people who are not sex workers, their friends, their hookups and everything like that. So that's where I have seen it, and also it comes with the complexities of the mandingo fetishes and stuff like that, and how people are hypersexualized by our counterparts and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how I've seen it in my research.
That's how. Okay, that's good information. Bugs, you was gonna say something?
I'm pretty sure it got to us from sex work. Like majority of the time, like white, like Jason said, a lot of older white men dates and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's not got to everybody in our community because so many people started prostituting because prostitution became this. It was already here, but then it just became this thing where everybody felt like, oh, I'm going to trick. I'm going to post the ad. Everybody. It was, and so it ain't built for everybody. This lifestyle, that street lifestyle, that hustle lifestyle isn't built for everybody. So a lot of people, when they come into it without a strong mindset and they get a date and the date be like, okay, you here for $150, I give you another $100 if you do this and then this and this and that. People who mind not, who weak and they just thinking about the money, they're gonna say, okay, let me do this.
Right. Tito, you was gonna say something? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems like even Bella Rose said, to be honest, the trans women. That's me again. I do not know, honestly. She feels honestly like the white clients have put the trans community onto it except for sexual needs. Is that me doing that? Okay, we calm. Okay, we good. Wait a minute. Can we hear? We can hear? Can we hear? We hear? Okay. So yeah, so it seems like everybody is saying that a lot of it has come into our Huh? You can't hear me? You can't hear me? No. Mike?
Oh, wait. Hi, can y'all hear me? Can y'all wave if y'all can hear me? I can't hear anybody on my side, so I'm not sure what happened, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Can everybody else hear me?
So it glitches every once in a while.
Okay.
The audio's gonna find.
Okay, so everybody can hear me, right? Okay, cool. So like I said, it seems like even Bella Rose chimed in that for the trans community, as well as Jason said and Bugs is saying, and even Simba said earlier, it seems to have impacted our community a lot through sex work. We can kind of agree with that. So that's an area of conversation as well, Bugs. Like we were saying, how do we get it out there and stuff like that? And like you said, everybody was escorting at one point in time. So that could be one of the starting points for us to get people who are into sex work to see what services that they need, what treatment, what support we can help with them with that. Right? Just an idea. Date's trying to get young trans supermodels strung out on purpose. I refuse to play dumb. That's right, Ali. You better not play dumb. Don't play dumb. Listen, but everybody's not that strong. That money is good. So we, things happen, unfortunately. So I want to know. Let me see. Let me ask you a question. Is there a connection between meth and trauma? Is there a connection between meth and trauma? Excuse me. Raise your hand. Who wants to go? Come on, Jason. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay, go ahead. You're on.
Wait, so am I going or is Jason going? Is this for me or Jason?
Jason has to unmute himself.
Oh, I thought he was going first. Do you want me to
No,
go first?
you. Yeah.
Okay. So the correlation between meth and trauma, for myself, I know when I grew up in poverty. I've been doing some form of sex work my whole life. It was survival. It's always been survival for me. Also, someone who was molested at a young age, facing rejection because of my HIV status. Just being black and queer and feminine. Sometimes people rejected me. They didn't want me around. I was an oddball. I kind of balled all of that up and kind of took that into going into crystal meth, and that kind of just led me to a journey of doing crystal meth. And from what I hear from people who do tell me their stories, they do go through some type of trauma that leads them to doing crystal meth.
Somebody else wants to go. Tia says meth is trauma. Go ahead, Bugs.
Trauma before using crystal meth. After you stop and after you get yourself together, you definitely realize that your life is impacted with trauma. Because, like, for me, while doing it, I didn't feel like I had issues. I didn't know that I was developing new issues and trauma into my life. I started seeing that after. Like, I couldn't, like with sex. I'm just now being, like, I haven't done crystal meth in over 4 years. It's been like almost 4 years. And I'm just now, last year, like within the past 6 months, being able to 95% enjoy sex without being high. Like, I couldn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. It didn't do anything for me. I felt like I needed to be high. So I felt like I had to place myself in situations where I wasn't getting high, but the sex was giving the same type of sex that I probably would have. And I felt like that was trauma. Then I wasn't the sexual trauma. Then I feel like, I'm not gonna say I feel like, I've been to, you know, psychiatrists and counseling and therapists, and we've discovered that I have developed a dopamine deficiency. And like, I can't, it's very hard for me to, like, when something good happens, like when I got an award for music, I couldn't be happy. I knew that I was happy that it happened, but I couldn't feel it. Like, it's hard for me to be proud. It's hard for me to feel accomplished or like certain things that I know I should be feeling. It's hard for me to feel. And I know that came from my use of crystal meth, because it releases so much that you can't get back, and it destroys so much. And it's like, it definitely develops trauma if you didn't go to it with the trauma.
Got it. Wow. That's deep.
And if I could piggyback off of that, like for myself, I find that now I have like drug trauma. So now when I'm like engaging in these like hookups, like I'm asking, like, do you do this, do you do that, do you do that? And like when I meet up with these people, I'm like, you know, on edge, because it's like, okay, are they like doing meth? You know, like what are their behaviors? Like looking around, like, you know, making sure something that seems like that happened when I was doing meth, you know, kind of triggered me. I'm just like, oh wow, this is about to get messy, and I gotta get out of here. I gotta go, you know. So it's like those type of things I'm like trying to now get back into and like really like enjoy being comfortable around people, enjoy being comfortable around engaging in sex again. And I am someone who does sex work. You know, sometimes I get to a set and I'm like, no, I can't. I cannot today, because it's just so much trauma when you do meth.
Right.
And then when you also think of the racial components to it as well, it blows your mind.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. Thanks, guys. Like, so that kind of segues me into something that Mike is asking, and the question that we have here. So, and you guys are kind of speaking on it already. So I'm gonna ask Mike's question, Uncle Mike's question. What is the biggest obstacle with getting clean? Oh, Simba, that took you, huh? You want that one? You go for it, Simba.
Hey, Uncle Mike, what's going on? That's a great question. You know, I think for me, obviously I'm going to use I statements and principles before personalities. But the thing that has worked for me, or I say that has been a challenge for me, is getting connected to care. As a crystal meth user, you know, there's a new study that's out that Tim has gracefully shared with us, and this is the first time I've ever seen literature like that, that talked about there being this alternative medication for people who have an addiction to crystal meth. And you know, one of the biggest problem I had trying to get clean, what we talked about earlier, was the kind of support that we get in Ballroom, was finding that support, right? And so when I would have these psychosis and I would call 911 because I didn't know who else to call, and they took me into a psych. Actually, I'm going to talk about a real story. When I had slit my wrist, when I was bleeding basically to death, I almost got my vein. I got 7 stitches. It was a really deep wound, and I was bleeding so bad where I was fainty. They took me into the hospital, and I got released within 24 hours.
Wow!
So that tells you the measure of the insanity that comes with the psychosis, and that, you know, somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody talked about medicine and medical care. There's no
Brandon,
science,
and I want to hold on to that,
or any kind of or any alternative for people to use. Like if you are a heroin addict, you know, they have like Suboxone and methadone. There's nothing like that for crystal meth users, and so I found it very difficult for me to get into rehab. You know, I've been in long treatment twice. And it's been really helpful, except in my process, I had to fabricate my drug use. I barely ever drink alcohol now. And that's how hard I got into crystal meth. But I had to now say that I was using alcohol. I had to now say that I was using cocaine. I even had to go to the extent and say that I was using heroin. Because if I went into a program and simply said that I was a crystal meth user, guess what? They was going to deny me immediately. If they found out that I came out of a psych ward within, I think now it's 60 days or 90 days, they're not going to take me. So if you're somebody who's tuned in, if you're somebody who's trying to get connected into rehab, into care, you know, I always have an open door policy. I'm more than happy to assist, but know that it's going to be challenging. There's not a lot of spaces that's going to take somebody just solely based on you being a crystal meth addict. And that's been a really big problem. And I think, you know, just thinking about other people who have been in my shoes where they get to this place where they're really hopeless, and they don't feel comfortable to reach out to anybody except like 911 or somebody in the medical field, they make it challenging also. So just be mindful of that. And again, like always feel free to hit me up if you're watching this. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Tito, you wanted to add in something? Your thoughts?
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. So the question goes, I'm sorry, I'm getting that static feedback again. So it was, what is the biggest obstacle with getting clean? And with that, I want you to kind of focus, and also why do you think the drug is so highly addictive and difficult to overcome?
All right, the addicting part is true, but it's more of the money part, because you can be addicted to anything. It's, can you purchase it? So for me, I was always hanging around white guys that just always had it. I think the last group that we did, I remember doing it at the Yes Center, and I invited my mom, and I had told her that I was struggling. Like, I finally opened up to her, I cried to her, and she got to a state of mind where she was like, "You're my child. Like, I will always support and love you." And I felt like that's what I needed. She uplifted me from all of that. She's like a big church woman, even though I'm not like back into church and stuff. I still go to her whenever I need prayer and stuff. But she just said the storm was gonna pass, and I just needed to at least take that step forward. Because if you don't take that step forward, you're staying in that dark spot. You are definitely staying in that dark spot. And me opening up to somebody after so long, and especially it being my mother, it was like,
right.
I can relax now. I can breathe. I can maneuver what to do next. And as far as getting clean, Simba, I didn't know that there was like other alternative and drugs to get out of it. I simply just cut cold turkey and just started smoking more weed. No shit. But
that's how you dealt with it. Cool. I get it. Thank you for that. Right. And yeah, so wow, that you guys are really sharing some good stories here, which is some information that will help somebody else. I really, really, really appreciate that. We all do, I'm sure. You know, Terrell, I want to know something. I see a question that we have here. What are your thoughts on crystal meth related services by the agencies? And I see that Brandon has said something about in connection with the agencies, and Shady was asking about where can somebody go to get off of crystal meth. So kind of all in one big question, you know, what are your thoughts on crystal meth related services provided by agencies?
For starters, I feel like we don't have as much resources. Can y'all hear me?
Now we can, yes.
For starters, I feel like we don't have as much or as. So I was saying, for starters, I don't feel like we have like that much resources that are geared specifically to that. I feel like most rehabs and outpatient programs are geared specifically towards everything else. And I think just the knowledge of like how to deal with people and support people through their times and things like that.
So definitely support.
But I definitely think that we do need a lot more resources and people that are like, exactly.
Cool. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Any thoughts on that? You know, as well, what are your thoughts on crystal meth related services, and where can somebody go, or what can somebody do to help them get off? I see somebody asked the question, have you guys ever tried acupuncture for part of your treatment plan for addiction? I've heard acupuncture works a lot for some people. Some. I just want some because I heard it. But I heard it really works. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Agencies definitely lack resources, especially with this pandemic, Maya, and that's what we're trying to accomplish today. Bugs. Can't you raise your hand?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can,
okay.
Yeah.
So I know, like, I grew up with a mom who was on crack, and I had a lot of people in my family who did drugs. And one thing my mom used to say to me a lot was people, places, and things. And I never really understood that until I got older, until around this time, dealing with what I was dealing with. That's one thing that's very, very important when you want to stop doing something. You have to disassociate yourself with the same type of people. You can't go to the same places, and you can't do the same things that you was doing when you was doing crystal meth if you really, really want to stop. And that's with anything that you want to stop doing. So that's one thing. And then I want to touch on the crystal meth and the agencies. You know, I was working for Joseph P. Adabo Family Center, and I had a few clients who came and they wanted to get help for crystal meth. And I reached out to a few different organizations and they had nothing. I even reached out to some rehab places. And when I said crystal meth, it was like they had nothing to offer. And this was at rehab places. And that was so weird to me that they only worked at crack, heroin, cocaine, and pills. It's like, when you say crystal meth, it's like, oh, so it's like you got all, I don't know. I guess we can start sending them to Ballroom We Care. And and we just got to do it ourselves until other people get on the catch on and figure it out.
Yeah, because like crystal meth, like you guys have been saying, it's such an underground party set that when you speak about it in public and you go for treatment, of course they don't know what to do with it because it's not so. Is that me? I hate that noise. It's not so publicized, you know, it's not so treatable because not everybody is doing it that we know of, right? Simba, go ahead. You was gonna say something. Oh, I hate this thing.
Ooh. Oh, about the acupuncture. I haven't done acupuncture, but being in a step program, one thing that we do practice is meditation, and that has helped me a great deal. And then when I was in one rehab, we did horse therapy, which actually was really helpful, believe it or not. I know it sounds foolish, but it was very helpful. But I did hear acupuncture was great, but I just wanted to answer that question, that's all.
Cool. Shady, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And the panel appreciates you for your support of everything. So I want to make a statement. As a community, we have experienced a lot of death of all ages. Unfortunately, it seems like deaths are occurring among younger individuals in Ballroom more often. BWC suggests that we adopt a check-in system, call, text, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social media outlet that everybody is on. Even if you're not acquainted, this system will involve members of the community checking in on those who are suspicious, who they suspect are using. If you see or hear something that's not right, you can act upon it. So with that, you know, what are your thoughts or anybody on that? Like, do you think that like a check-in system, a buddy system is good? Because I heard Tito say, and I think that's very good, that he was able to go to his mom, you know, and once he got the support of family, because family is who we need sometimes, or want the approval and stuff from, right? And once we have that support, it makes it all the it makes it easier for some of us to deal with stuff. Go ahead, Tito.
All right, with the buddy system, I suggest, and honestly, I don't think that works because two buddies tend to make two mistakes. I feel like somebody needs a mentor or somebody to guide them into the right direction, like my grandmother did to me, you know? Yeah, two buddies don't make it right. Yeah.
I could be your buddy though, you know, and make sure that you're all right, because I'm not, you know, and only because I don't indulge, you know, I don't indulge, you know, in crystal meth and stuff like that. So because I don't indulge and I checked up on you just to see if you're okay, you my buddy, I'm making sure you're all right.
I guess I get that. Yeah, that works.
What kind of forever? Go ahead, Jason.
I personally think the buddy system is a great opportunity. The only concern I have with it is that, like, with my friends, they kind of looked out for me and really, you know, grounded and really, like, you know, in a space where I wasn't using crystal meth. I have to also acknowledge that in certain dynamics with friends, that can be taxing on the person. So it's like you can only do but so much.
Right.
You got to learn how to step away, because it's the person who is, you know, addicted to crystals' meth responsibility to, you know, make that decision if they want to get sober or create a harm reduction plan or wherever they're at to, you know, mitigate the use of crystal meth. But I think the buddy system is phenomenal. And checking in on people, I think we should be checking in anyway. You know, I think we should always be checking in, especially after COVID. We've lost so many people in this pandemic. It's like, why am I not checking? You know, if I got deep with you, you know, from a long time ago, we were, you know, good girlfriends and everything like that, it's my time for you to, like, really check in and be like, hey, how you doing? You know, and I personally have done that with my friends. You know, I didn't talk to them anymore, but, you know, we grew up together. So I checked in to see how they are, because it's important to keep those connections, to remember who you are, because the moment you remember the moment that you forget who you are is the moment you will go under.
Amen. Amen. Tim has a comment for us.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. So in terms of the check-in system, right? And I like what everybody's saying. I think what we were thinking was, you don't even have to be that close, right? I think when we think about social media, how we mainly interact, especially now, you know what I mean, during COVID, we're all on the internet. Everything is done virtually. Everything is done via social media. So I think with the check-in system, I mean, it can be really simple. It could be something as easy as just looking at somebody's live for 2 minutes, right? Looking at what somebody put on their story, right? And because we do that so often, and if you see something that you think might be out of the ordinary, right? I mean, that's your opportunity to kind of like check in and say, you know, are you okay?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty much really what we need, right? So it's not like forcing no one into rehab or, you know what I mean? Just checking
Yeah.
in. Because I
You
think,
know, like, what's up, bitch?
right, because I think one of the things that I've learned, and there's lots of us, right, in the community involved, but we're all connected on social media, especially Facebook. And I've learned a lot about a lot of people who I've never met. I'm not stalking, but you know what I'm saying? But sometimes, I mean, you might want to, just to find out if a person is crying out for help. Because how many times have someone from Ballroom posted on social media, on Facebook, right, that they were struggling, and then unfortunately, a few days later, then they're no longer with us.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
Right.
that's all I wanted to add, you know, to that point.
Thank you. We needed that. All right. You know, I'm loving this. I love this. I love the honesty. I love the conversation. I love the flow. Is everybody comfortable? I want to make sure everybody's good. Do you need a tea? Do we need to go to commercial? Yeah, okay, we good? Okay, we good. Okay. So people out there watching. Oh, yeah, Simba. Yes.
I just wanted to add to that. That's okay, really quick. I think also with the check-in, I never intentionally practiced a buddy system, but when I was using, the one thing I try to practice is harm reduction. To the contrary, and there was one or two people that I used with who I trust a great deal, and wherever I was moving from them, or even if I wasn't with them, I would check in with them like, hey, I'm gonna be at this place. Another thing too, when I was using, if I would post like funny stuff on Facebook, and I did have people reach out to me and would ask me if I was okay. That didn't work for me. What I did realize that did work for me was, and what I try to do with people now who I think may be using, and even if they're not using, if there's something I think they're going through, it's just checking in with them where it's a normal conversation. Like, what's up? How you doing? You want to grab lunch like next week or something like that? Without asking if you're okay. Because I know when people ask me if I was okay, I was always saying, yeah, I never told nobody that I wasn't doing okay.
Right.
But I just wanted to share that.
Right. Thank you. And Donald, I love that we need all the input that we can get. And you're right about that. Definitely. Just checking somebody out. I got you, Bugs. Donald also says, drop some. Oh, wait a minute. Can I go back to Donald? Well, go ahead, Bugs, until we get. Wait, there we go. Drop someone, some bottled water, toilet tissue, etc. Provide a few words of encouragement to open and enhance dialogue. I like that. Goes in association with Simba was just saying as well. Bugs. 1 second.
Really good idea.
Go.
The buddy system, the check-in thing is really a good idea. Like a year ago, me and my team created something like that called Check on Your People. I had a song called Check on Your People, and we created where we posted and made flyers, and people actually sent us, DM'd us, or emailed us their number. And so we contact these people, randomly just for nothing. And also, if we do a buddy system with this through the ballroom thing, I think, I hate to try to find, I'm not looking for bad things or anything like that, but shit happens. If something like that is done, I think the people who are calling the people should definitely be certain people, because the thing, I would hate for someone to be a part of the buddy system and then to be calling, oh, hey, Amy, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Amy going through it. The next thing you know, this person is going back to the house meeting and like, yeah, girl, I called her the other day to check on her and this and this and this and that. And the next thing you know, it's all on social media, because that's how the scene do. And just like when y'all said how many times people post, I'm going through it, I need help, blah, 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 and they don't die. And then the people be all up under the post and sharing it, reading, talking about them. So it's like, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And and I think that goes back to what you guys were saying about not wanting to be open. Not wanting to be open and tell people what's what's going on with y'all and everything like that. Because like Simba said, when somebody asks them, I'm okay, you don't want people to know your business and stuff like that. And you're right, Bugs, you know, sometimes people, period, you know, they just go back and tell your business. And then how does that help the person who's trying to seek out help? Okay. Thanks, Mike. So I want to ask a very important question. Well, all of the questions are important, but it's something it goes into kind of how we get the message out. When it comes to advocating for policy reform, what message should we be sending policymakers in New York City informed by substance use and LGBTQ people of color? Think about it. Yeah, Tim Israel, Bella, and the other young man. Anybody? Go ahead, Jason.
I think that you know, we can't really talk to our politicians. What we really should be talking to is our local organizations who, you know, work in public health and really get them to understand that, hey, you know, Black and gay, queer, trans people of color, you know, we're using crystal meth, you know, because they still believe that we're not using crystal meth. So we really need to get that narrative out there, because if they don't believe it, then it's going to be really difficult to, you know, tell a politician, or, you know, for them to actually really care about what's going on in our community. So we really have to, you know, get to these agencies and be like, hey, you know, even if you feel comfortable sharing your story, you know, and really making a difference, so they are aware of, like, hey, this is a thing that's really happening within our community. But yeah, I think it really starts that way, and then we can move up the ladder to legislation and really do some work, because right now we're kind of focused on the opioid crisis. And without communities, the opioid crisis is not a thing as much as crystal meth. So we kind of got to open up the system, if I must say, you know, just say, hey, okay, well, we're talking about opiates, but let's also talk about crystal meth.
Right. So you're saying, because Tim is asking where, so you say we start with the organizations and stuff. You know, we start there before, and then we find out our local politician. We go from there. You know, we start from the ground up, basically, and we move our way up the ladder. Exactly. Councilmen, citymen, statesmen, mayors, officer. But we have to go to the organizations to help start. We should go to the organizations to help start that process. Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? What policy reform, what message should we be sending policymakers for this? Anybody else? I know it's a little political. You know, some people, you know, it's okay. You don't got no force for it. So Jeffrey wants to know what would be, I'm sorry.
I was like, if I want to add one more thing, when you take it to your local agencies, I tell them that we're taking down Tina.
Repeat that, Jason?
That we're taking down Tina, because I think it's so important to have like something as a catchphrase to really, like, you know, really get the message out there. It's like, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to take down Tina, you know, because this is serious and it's really impacting our community.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I'm going to get to Mike's question. Let me ask Jeffrey a question real quick. What would be the way to start a conversation with someone you know is using, if any way at all? Well, that's kind of what Mike is asking too. When do you see when you see a fellow house member showing signs, do you approach them or just wait for them to cry out for help? So that's two questions. One was, what would be the way to start a conversation with someone you know is using, if any way at all? And then the other question is, when you see a fellow house member showing signs, do you approach them or just wait for them to cry out for help? Who? I think Simba's. Oh, come on, Bugs.
I'm just as you're asking both questions, I'm like, this is such a tough one. And what I'm trying to do is put myself in that person's shoes as the user, as I've been in the past. I think for Jeffrey's question might be a little different than Mike's, but for Jeffrey's, what would be the way to start a conversation with someone you know was using, if any way at all? I think just be regular. Like for me, whenever I was using, I didn't want anybody coming to me asking me about using. right? And often when that did happen, the conversation ended up being about them rather than about me, right? Be cautious of your intention. If your intention is to be supportive and helpful, then you need to make sure you show up like that. Because what I've seen happen and what has happened with me is it becomes this back and forth thing, because now you're telling me that I shouldn't be using. That's not what I want to hear when I'm using. You're saying I should do this, that, and the third, and all of a sudden you have all the answers, and that's just not how it works, you know. For Mike's question, I think if you see a fellow person who you think is using, I think what would have worked for me is just simply making yourself available and making sure that that person knows that you have no judgment and that you're available for them whenever they're ready to come to you. And again, making small gestures like, hey, you want to do lunch sometime this weekend? Just be regular. Like, don't lie. Don't lie. Don't come to me with the sense of pity. The one thing I never wanted people to be for me when I was using was sympathetic.
Right.
Because that put me at a place like, oh, now niggas want to show up because they feel sorry for me. I'm not here for that. Right. So I think all in all, the one thing I cannot stress is be mindful and cautious of your intention. And if you feel like it's gonna take it and be open to all the possibilities where those conversations can go. If it's gonna take you to a place where you're gonna begin to shame that person, where you feel like they're gonna say something that is wrong to you, and you get upset about it, then ultimately you make it about you. And if you're that type of person, just be mindful of that. But all of that to say, just be cautious of your intention. And if your intention is great, you know, no matter what, just how can I support you?
Good,
you know
thank you.
But that's what I got.
Tito?
I think I heard ballroom, like if one of your ballroom members, did I hear that correct?
Mike asks, when you see a fellow house member showing signs, do you approach them or just wait for them to cry out for help?
Well, and like, I'm thinking like my house. Everybody in my house, we all have like this connection. So you'll know when somebody's off. If something's off, everybody, of course, got their little cliques in the house. Like, we're cooler with this one, cooler than that one. Yeah, you should speak up. Don't wait for nobody to ever cry for help. Speak up. Like, if you know you see her, she's off. She is off. Go and speak to her. Because it's like, I do that with all my dealers. If something's wrong, I even hit them up whenever. Like, that's just who I am. I just got to make sure everybody's okay.
Right.
So I feel like answering that question, yes, you should be the bigger person and go speak to them. And to answer the other question, just be regular. Use a regular conversation. Like, if that's your homegirl, just speak to them regular. That you should never try to like intimidate somebody or try to find out what they're doing. Like, just talk to them regular and everything comes to the light.
Right. Not some awesome, yo, what you doing?
Right.
Right.
That's too much.
You wanted to add something? I got a habit of doing that. I ain't gonna lie. I'd be like, what? I'm coming up there. You know you don't want me to come up there. Like, you know. Go ahead, Bugs.
I was kind of different. I wish somebody would have came to me and said, are you good? Are you okay? Nobody came to me and said that. And I was around people, like, I had just really started putting my music out and working on my music. I had a whole team around me, and I was missing studio time. I was missing all type of shit. And nobody said, are you okay? Nobody, it was changes, but nobody said nothing. And I said in a line of my song, something like, I forgot exactly what I said, but I was like, did they care or did they just not see it? It was something like that. But I ended up having to go home to Virginia, and my mom saw me after about 10 months. She saw me and was like, are you okay? Because you looking smaller. Are you good? And once she said that, I said to myself, bitch, she talking about something, am I okay? I don't look right. But nobody, and I'm around these people every day. And ain't nobody said nothing. So if you're gonna say something to somebody, if you're gonna ask them something, make sure you really give a fuck about that person. Don't be like, don't ask somebody, are they okay, because you want the tea, and be prepared to do something if you open up this question and this box. If you open up this box and you come to this person and you're talking to them and you find out that it's true that they're doing it and they need help, it's no need for you asking them any of that. If once they tell you I need help, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to say, oh, okay, and then hang up the phone or walk away? No, be prepared to say, okay, so what do we do? Where do we go from here? You gotta, it's like following through. Don't just bring it up, follow through with it. Because if you really care, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right. You got it, Tito.
And also just to put out there that even if a person is not screaming out for help, also pay attention to the little things that they say, because it might not be their actions, it might be their words.
Exactly.
And silent screams, you know?
I think it's Tito. It's not me making that noise.
It's not me. I've been on mute the whole time. Don't play me. That's from your papers rattling over there.
Don't try to play my papers, Tito. That's not nice. Like
digital.
Oh, you trying to call me old? You just said digital. Wait a minute.
I mean, digital DVD came out back then too.
Whoa. I had a VCR and a Betamax. Wait a minute. Like
I had a VCR too. It wasn't mine, it was my mom's. But.
So a question that somebody's asking, what are some terms we should not use? And they also asking, is the term Tina acceptable? Jason?
I mean,
for myself, I used to call it Tina. Now I just call it Meth, because I feel like when I gave it like so many like glorified names, it made it easier for me to be like, oh, let's go ahead and do Tina, you know, let's go ahead and do it. Like when I call it Meth, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have that anymore. So yeah, for me, I call it Meth.
Okay. So what terms should we not use though?
I don't really know. Like, it's open to all for me. You know what I mean? Not even trying to be on no funny shit. Like,
no, really.
It's open to all. I think the one word that does offend me, because it reminds me of my mother, rest in peace, is a junkie. And that's a personal thing. But you know, like I think also like the words you should not use, I think be mindful of like how you share, how you see people. I've been in circles where people would talk about somebody who was partying and they use these words. And what we forget a lot of times is the influence that we have when we speak to people. So if you calling somebody a meth head, she might run with that and keep that name on her. She might share with somebody else. And you know, that really, if you have that influence, what it does more damage than it does healing, right? Because now you're subtracting more people who want to show up for you, because now the stigma that comes with it is that I know all these people are calling her that, and you know, I don't like to be sympathetic, but I want to reach out to that person, but everybody else thinks that, so I should think it too.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but it
makes perfect sense. Perfect. It's derogatory statements, you know, and when you put out those derogatory statements, even when you're trying to help someone, anything derogatory, you know, like you said, calling somebody a junkie, calling somebody a meth head, you know, and stuff. Those are derogatory terminologies to talk to someone that you're trying to help. How are you trying to help me and you're still belittling me at the same time? So no, you make perfect sense with that. Anybody else wants to add with Jeffrey? I'll get to you for a second, Jeffrey. Anybody else want to add to that? You know, what terminologies we shouldn't use? Or do you think Jason and Simba kind of summed that up a little bit in a nutshell? Yeah. Okay. So Jeffrey says, so I'm guessing come stay with me for a bit and locking them in the house like in misery ain't a good idea. No, I guess not. Well, you know what? I'm doing that. Anyway, so Like, you know, so because I get what you're saying, Jeffrey, like having somebody get out of that particular atmosphere, taking them out of that environment and bringing them somewhere where they could just relax and be comfortable and open up to and stuff like that. You know, do you think that helps? You know, what is that, Dickie? That helps with people and stuff, like if they tell a friend to come visit you to get them out of that environment. You know, do you think that's a way of helping somebody? Yes, Susan, respect where people are in the process. We have to. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear anybody. Well, I'm sorry, Dan, you repost your question. Go ahead, Simba.
Because you know I always got something to say. Hi, Dickie! I miss you. To Jeffrey, you know, again, the thing for me is intention. Always think about intention. What you mentioned in your question was locking somebody up in misery. That alone right there tells me that's a big no. What I will say is that it was a time where I was doing good in my recovery, and I find myself having a lapse. And in that, my uncle reached out to me and he told me that I could stay with him as long as I stayed clean. It wasn't a lock-in, but again, a lot of this is around intention. Like, I don't know that it's fair to lock somebody in your house without them knowing your intention. But if you share your intention, it's not to make them miserable, but hey, why don't, and you know the other thing too also, and this is not me promoting the use of Tina, but it's okay to take a break. Sometimes people need a break. You know what I mean? I can't stop nobody from using, and you could bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it. You know what I mean? Again, intention.
They knew that, Dickie. They know what the movie is. They know what the movie is.
But yeah, I think it's a gift. If you have the power and you have the capacity to open up your home to a loved one or somebody that's using, please do so. Reach out to them. Let them know what your intentions are. Because, you know, when I was getting high and when I was in the psychosis, like even the people who reached out to me, I didn't always trust them. So now I might think you have this ulterior motive. But that's enough. I'm chatting.
No, you good. You good. Daniel, repost your question. We didn't see it. Somebody else wants to chime in on what we was just saying about and again, it's not being in misery. He meant the movie We Know Dickie as the intent, you know, like to keep them locked away, you know, away from, you know, that environment and stuff. You stupid. Okay, we good, people. We rolling. We good. Y'all still with me? Come on, Daniel, repost your question. So provide us with any ideas and approaches that would be useful in increasing awareness of crystal meth in ballroom. What can we do better to get the word out? Yes, Maya, that is true. Go ahead, Tito, and then Bugs.
I guess a table for crystal meth itself. Like we have tables for everything else, but certain things that is real serious, we don't have just because we don't attend to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like even if we don't attend to that, other programs do attend to that. So we should have flyers and stuff for that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Bugs?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
I think talking about it and not just talking about it on a post, not just talking about it in the house, but actually talking about it at a ball. Like it takes nothing but like I just had my ball, the VA Take Me Back ball, and I took 5 minutes out to talk about crystal meth, reaching out to your friends, HIV, protecting trans women. All of these things are things that should be discussed at balls. If we can be at a ball and do 15 minutes, 10 minutes of arguing back and forth on the mic, but about nonsense, then whoever's having the ball can take 5 or 10 minutes out and get on the microphone and say, is there anybody here who is going through anything? You don't have to come now, come talk to me later. Like, if we're ballroom, like these things, this shit should be at balls. Like, we should be having these conversations, like,
because it's happening to us.
That's what it's about. Yeah. So I think that should be implemented in ballroom. Like, talk about it. LSS be an hour and 30 minutes. 20 minutes can be talking about shit that needs to be talked about.
So get the commentators involved. There we go. See, we making moves. Get the commentators involved and have it them. How is it? Yeah, we can. Get the commentators involved and getting them to speak about it throughout the ball, through the segments, like you said, through stars and statements, taking 5 minutes to talk about it and stuff. And like Tito said, having the pamphlets on the tables when organizations are there, or just around on it when somebody's buying the table, have that information on the house tables and stuff like that. We put out condoms and lube and candy and stuff, but that's something else. Simba, you wanted to say something real quick, because I'm gonna go back to a question.
Of course, Simba always got something to say. I just want to say, be creative, incorporate them in the categories. There was this Kiki book, they put it in the category, and no shade, it was really, really, really fat. It was very emotional, but incorporate it in the categories. Lecturing might work for some people, lecturing might not. Tabling might work for some people, tabling might not. The category might work for some people, the category might not. So incorporating all those three things at a ball, why not? We could give up $1,000 for a crystal meth category. Why not? I'm here for it, and I'm willing to give up the money too. So
holla. Yeah, we got to keep doing it. And Maya wanted everybody, recovery is a process that a person has to want to recover. That is true. And we could give them a little push sometimes too. Hey, baby. So going back to a question, let me get to Daniel's question first, Tim. So since sex work is contributing factor to being open meth use, how does one experience sex work and safety under the realms of steering clear of meth usage that has been harmful to folks? Tito, I'm gonna hurt you. So since sex work is a contributing factors to being open meth use, how does one experience sex work and safety under the realm of steering clear of meth usage that has been harmful to folks? So I guess what he's asking is, do y'all understand the question? Let me, before I even say that. Okay. So what he's asking is, how does one experience sex work? I guess being a sex worker and being safe and not doing crystal meth. I'm gonna summarize it. I believe that's what he's saying. So how can you still engage in sex work but not engage in crystal meth at the same time? Jason, you were saying something. Okay. Go, Bugs, you were speaking. Go ahead. Whichever. Ozzy even said shoot.
I think if it's gonna be sex work, then it should just be sex work. Don't go into the situation. If he want to get high, don't do it. No matter what drug it is. And it's like a job. You know how when you go to your regular job, you're not allowed to drink and do drugs at work. So sex work is work. So go to work, get your money, and leave. I mean, that it sounds good, but it's like, it's the life. So if a person is gonna do it, they're gonna do it. If they're it's hard. Sex work is dangerous, and it's a lot of different avenues and things you go through. So I don't know how they can do that, but not do it. That's the only way you can do sex work and be safe, is to do sex work and don't do drugs and wear condoms. And I don't know.
Jason.
I think for myself, I try to screen through like my clients that I used to have, and really like put out there that like no hard drug use. Like that's just not my thing at all. But what I've noticed is that the landscape of sex work has kind of changed with like OnlyFans and stuff like that. So for me, it's starting to become a more dangerous pool. So then I have to start removing myself from being a sex worker and kind of thinking of other avenues for myself and for my safety and for my own personal harm reduction.
Right. Thank you, Jason. That was good. I like that. Break that down. Like Brandy. Mike says, we all know coming down can be hard. Mornings can be the worst. Do you feel that we find the mirrors that reflect the image that you want to see as opposed to the one that you've become? Mirrors of friends and families. Does this isolation cause a deeper reliance on the drug? Does this isolation cause a deeper reliance on the drug? Come on, Simba.
Go ahead. Absolutely. My experience when I was isolated, I had nothing, I had no one, right? That was the belief I made for myself. And I had nowhere to go. Nothing, no one, nowhere. And the only thing that would show up for me was the Tina, or so I thought, right? That's where I was at in that process. And you know, and I don't say this in a glorified way or like this. It's sort of like this euphoric recall, and I want to cry and laugh at the same time as I share this. But I remember I would have these episodes, and so
take your time. Take your time.
I didn't think it was gonna be this hard.
Take your time. Take your time.
Episodes, and I was in great company sometimes, and I would have these episodes, and I was in really bad company. And you know that ultimately leaded me to my isolation, and you know just getting to this place where I felt like I wasn't worthy. If I would try the cold turkey thing, when I would begin to come back out. You know, the little things I wouldn't get one comment on a post on Facebook. I would reach out to people, nobody would call my phone. You know, all those little things that made me isolate. And in that isolation, here I am now looking for who I'm going to sleep with next, right? And a lot of times it wasn't really about the sex, it was about the companionship, right? You know, I would have rather spend time in my room alone with like a hot guy and converse with him for like 5 hours and maybe play for a half, right? But as naked. But absolutely, I think to answer the question, yes, I don't know that I'm going on a tangent here. But you know, being isolated was really a thing for me. Like, and you know, in that process, the more I isolated, the more I used. The more I used, the harder it was to get out. And it got to these places that I talked about before. You know, I had this one episode where I thought 4 guys had broken into my house. This one person, I had a gun behind his back, and I walked him all around my apartment. I jumped out of the fire escape and came around the building to be at my front door and realized that nobody was there. I had this other episode where I basically put my house on fire. So it's real. It's real. It gets really, really crazy. And you know, that's just been my experience. Everybody doesn't go through that because
right.
Everybody uses crystal meth differently. Whether it's the way you use it or how much you use. And I was a carrying girl. And you know, and I don't say that to like there's no part of me and no intention in me to gloat or have this euphoric recall. But that's just the reality, right? And you know, for those people who are watching who might be going through that process, I need you to know, and I want you to know that there is a way out. There is a way out. But I'll leave it at that.
Amen. Somebody else want to add to that? Ball Voyager says, first know what meth looks like. Tito? Or you were just giving, yes.
I just said period.
Yeah. So Johnny wants to know, what are your thoughts about providing syringes, pipes, hygiene kits in terms of harm reduction? Jason?
I think it's a great idea to do that. You kind of have to look at your local state laws with that, because sometimes syringes doing that, you really can't do it. But I think it's great because I know when I was injecting, you know, drugs, I would like use like dirty needles sometimes. And so to have somewhere where I can go to a space and be like, hey, you know, let me get fresh needles would have been a great help for me when I was, you know, battling with my addiction or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a great idea for, you know, at least for the syringe pass. I don't know about the pass, but yeah, the syringe pass for sure.
Right. We have that where in my state where we go to the health department, they have something called the needle exchange, and they could trade in their dirty needles for fresh needles to kind of reduce the infection rate and sharing and everything like that. Bugs, you were saying?
I've always felt I've always had an issue, not an issue, but I never really agreed too much with that. I guess that part of harm reduction. I never understood how it was reducing harm. I mean, I guess it's reducing harm because you're providing people with clean syringes and stuff like that. But to me, it just always was like, it's kind of like co-signing or something. I don't know.
I hear what you're saying. I hear you.
I never really understood that part. Like, it was like, okay, if you want to do it, it's kind of like encouraging people.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I think, yeah. It's such a catch-22 with everything, right? It's like a seesaw kind of sort of, like, you do it because the harm reduction because you want to stop the spread of HIV and other hepatitis C and other infections, right? And doing at the same time, you don't want to be like, yeah, go take this so you can go get high, go get high, go get high, go get high. But it's a double-edged sword. It really is. Johnny, I want to know, does housing work have fentanyl strips? Johnny, come back, Johnny. Johnny, does housing works have fentanyl strips? We'll wait for that quick. Yes, we do. Number one answer. All right, so Housing Works has fentanyl strips. That's good to know. All right, guys, I'm gonna take one more question or just discussion because we kind of winding down. Let's go with, okay, so because we touched on family a lot. What type of advice can you offer a family member or friend to someone who is struggling with meth? So, like, if somebody comes to you, if they're a family member and stuff, like, and they be like, hey, I know blah, blah, blah is using. What would be some things that you can help the family with? Some advice or guidance? Simba, step to the light.
You ready, Vincent? No, let me stop. It's a real complex question for me. I think we're again, and the thing I'm going to keep repeating is I think that love has a way of showing up, and energy will introduce you before you speak. So anybody you're approaching, I think again, think about your intention when you're dealing with this person. And this is just what has worked for me. And what the other panelists will share. That might be the thing that works for you. What I'm sharing may or may not work for you. But I think again, be mindful of your intention. The one thing I hated when people would come to me and ask me about my use is when they flipped the script and made it about them. I hated that because I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me. And then it became this thing where they made it about them. And telling me these things like, you're better than that. You're too smart to be doing drugs. You had your whole life ahead of you. We don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I'm not at that place where I want to hear that. Right. Show me genuinely and authentically and organically that you want to be here for me. And also, in that process, it's important to set boundaries. Because, there were times where I took advantage of people when I thought I wanted to get clean, but really it was a break for me, and I would take advantage of people. So I think, set boundaries, know your intention, and show love. And it could be as simple as, how can I support you? And be okay with getting declined. Be okay with rejection. It doesn't mean that just because somebody rejects you one time, that you have to completely shut your door, because then for that person, what it looks like is you weren't really there for them. And think about if you're really doing it for yourself or you're doing it for them. You know, it's okay to ask questions. And I think that's the one thing for me, like just be mindful of your intention, and set boundaries.
Amen. Anybody like to add to that? No. Okay. So what does it mean to call people to action? What does it mean for just to you? What does it mean to call people to action? Thank you, Cody. Oh, hey, Cody, love. Ooh.
To me, it's like telling people to step up and be a part of helping the community grow and get better.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Absolutely. We have to call our peers, our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles to action, because it is a growing situation. You know, a friend of mine, well, a very close friend of mine, said one day, you know, she felt like we live in the 90s all over again. And if you were from the 90s, especially the early 90s, like we was, like 88 and on, you know, we seen crack come in and take over our community. We seen a lot of passing of our teenage friends. And I feel like sometimes we are reliving that. For those of us that had lived it once, we're looking at it again. But this time we have so much more that we can do than we did last time. You know what I mean? So each generation and each time we learn a little bit more, you know. So this time, call to action, we need to call everybody together for this, because this is a pandemic too, an epidemic. It really is. It's like Jason said, he wouldn't go. This is a form of a call to action. Thank you, Maya. Like Jason said, you know, you can't go into all the details of the chemicals, but these are things that you do not want in your body. You know, these are things that can harm you. And, you know, and now they're cutting it with the fentanyl, and like, fentanyl down in Maryland is, whoa, you know, big, you know, so, you know, people it's crazy. So, when all that said and done, we got 5 minutes left. You know, we could freestyle, we could kick it, you know, but I just want to say thank you first to every panelist that was up here, to every person that has shared their story, to everyone that was watching, that asked questions, that chimed in, that shared it on Facebook. Thank you to Tim, to Mike, to Luna, and God rest his soul, Hector Extravaganza, because he's still moist, you know, like he, you know, for even creating this table of contents where people can come to for a multiple of topics and situations and things that affect us all. Because as you know, Black and brown, Latino, any race, when you have a situation, it is very hard to talk about it, because a lot of times that comes with shame, right? We are shameful. Thank you, Tia. We are shameful for the things that we've done, even though we enjoy it. There's shame there, so we can't talk about it and we hide from it. And to have these kind of platforms to be able to talk about it and to be open about it. Thank you, Catherine, and you know, to be open and expose ourselves, so somebody else listening to it knows that they're not alone, that there is help, and there are things that you can do to help yourself and others. Even if you're not, you could pass this information on to somebody that you know that, all right, bestie, that somebody that you know that might need this information. So again, thank you for allowing me to be your moderator for this evening. How you doing? I am father.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to, let's all give James a round of applause. This is first time doing this, and I think you did an amazing job.
Thank you, y'all. And just don't say that. Let me know if I looked fierce or it was something, you know, we had this fuzzy background and stuff going on or whatever. Like, yeah, y'all know I'm open and honest. You know, I don't give a, you know what I'm saying? You know, but I keep, and let me tell you, and even if you are going, anybody on the panel, y'all know, if y'all don't know, now you know. I'm like 7'11", 24 hours, 7 days a week. Not easy. Wait a minute, let me clear that up. You know, but you can come in, you can come and talk to me. You got a problem, something is going on. I don't just do this professionally, I do this personally. I do this in real life. I've been doing this all my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can come to me and you know your secret is safe with me. Like, Brandy, I want to be down. You know, we're gonna be down, you know, and I'm open to anybody that needs help. Thank you, Johnny. To anybody that needs help, that just want to talk. That's me as a person. So, like what Bugs is saying, because what Bugs said is really sticking out in my head of how the leaders have to get involved. And I'm gonna be that leader. I'm involved. What's up? You know what I'm saying? I'm here on the whole front. I'm talking about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to continue to talk about it. And thank you guys for letting me be a moderator. Oh my God, I had so much fun.
And thanks to all the panelists too.
All of y'all. Even the ones that left. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Terrell. Shout out to Flash. Damn, Flash, I know you wanted to get on because you had some stuff to really unpack. I know you did. I seen it, boo. I seen it, but we're going to get back to you. You know what I'm saying? Aurora, keep your head up, girl, because we need you. And Terrell, we got you, money. Word up.
Right.
What room we care.
Until next time, and if y'all need any help, any information is flashing at the bottom of the screen. Our number, our website, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, all those places. And again,
flowers.
And this is not it either. Like I said in the beginning, we don't want to just talk about it. We don't want to just have a discussion, but we want to be called to action.
Yes, call to action. I'm here, I'm ready. Flowers. Wakanda.